Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey. I am a knitwear designer from the southwest of France. Why was that so hard to say? And this is a podcast where I chat about all the things that I make. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you are doing very well. I have a little episode for you, not so little, with socks, crochet, yes, and a little update on a shawl that I'm knitting. So yeah, you can find timestamps to all the different sections of the podcast in the description below the video. So if you want to skip anything, feel free to look at that. I also put links to everything that I talk about, as well as links to my social media, patterns for sale, and Patreon page if you would like to support the channel and my design work and have access to some exclusive content behind the scenes. Yay! So, quickly, what I'm wearing. I am wearing the Sonat pullover, which is one of my designs. It is a top-down raglan with this little cable design, simple cable down the front. It has waist shaping and hip widening. Here, 3/4 length sleeves with this little split cuff detail here in twisted rib. And yes, it is knitted in fingering weight. It was a pattern that I did in collaboration with Maison Corlaine, which is a French indie dyer, in their Bakewell base, which is a pure BFL. And BFL is really nice because of how the little sheen gives a really, really interesting stitch definition. So this is a sweater that I don't wear often because it's a bit too small now. I think I've released it a couple of years ago, no more than this, 4 years ago. I think it was 2019. It's still 2020 in everybody's heads, I think. But yeah, I released it in 2019 and it's a bit too small now, but it's nice for spring, so we're doing this. It's a bit too small compared to my preference. But yeah, I have a new pattern that I would like to share with you, which is a new sock design. So I have been making a little sock collection. So for a couple of years now, I've been doing sock patterns with a theme for the year. So I've done lace socks, I've done socks with different textures last year, and this year I wanted to have fun with colors. So this is kind of vague and I'm taking it very vaguely because I decided to mostly put color onto designs that could be knitted in various ways, including just in one colors. So there will be 3 patterns for spring, so March, April, May. We do a pause in June, and then there will be 3 patterns this summer in July, August, September. And some of the later patterns will actually use color techniques, color work and mosaic. I haven't got all the details yet, but most of the patterns actually can be made in just one color, 2, 3 more, etc. I wanted something that could be really easy to customize. And that's the case for this first one. So I have got a bunch of really nice spring colors from Filcolana Arwetta. Filcolana, which is the Danish brand, and Arwetta is their sock yarn. And it comes in all of these beautiful colors. It's an 80% merino, 20% nylon, basic nylon superwash sock yarn, but it is a really soft one with a great stitch definition and it holds well. I have quite a few socks now in this yarn and they're doing the best of most of my socks, really. So yeah, this is Eris, the Eris socks, which, as you can see, feature a really, really simple pattern. So they are knitted cuff down, like all of my sock patterns. This is my preferred way. You have a twisted ribbed cuff, and then you have this textured stripes made of ribbon and garter. And yay! So it goes all around the leg and then on the top of the foot. As most of my sock patterns, you have 2 heels instructions. You have a heel flap and gusset like I did here, but I also give instructions on how to do a German short row heel. This is very simple. It's a very, very basic texture. The pattern is charted, so it's like a really small 2-stitch chart, and there's also a written instructions. And yes, so as you can see, I've made color blocks. So I've tried to get about the same height of colors. I am using this really beautiful olive. This is called teal. It's more blue in real life, coral. And I will put the color numbers in the description so that you can find them exactly. But you can obviously make them in one color. You can make shorter stripes if you like as well. And so it was kind of funny because when I wrote the pattern instructions, I gave instructions on when to change colors. So I said it's better to change color in the middle of a stockinette section because it's a cleaner break, and this is how I split mine. And one of my testers said that she didn't understand why I recommended that, because she had the idea to basically, she used a main color for all the textured stripes, and all the stockinette bits in between she made using a different mini skein or leftover colors. And it's really pretty, it's really original, it's so fun. It allows you to use so many leftovers, and it just never crossed my mind that you could do this. So yeah, the magic of testing and having a few different creative brains working together. And so yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about color jogs and shifting colors. This is gonna be important for this episode. Basically, now the pattern tells you where not to change colors, not to have a jog. So when you're using a new color, if you're purling on the first row where you change colors, you're gonna have a visible blip. Basically what happens is that the top of the stitch in the previous color, instead of being at the back of your work, is gonna be pushed front because you're doing a purl. And so you're gonna have the two legs of your new color and then sort of an arch of the previous color, which makes a little blip. And that's what happens if you do purls in your first row. And this makes a really fun and pretty jog like this. So if it's intentional, it's really cool. I've been toying for a long time now with the idea of making a design using this. You see quite a bunch of commercial ready-to-wear items that are taking advantage of this. They're using reverse stockinette and making stripes. And I just think that this is really fun. And I've been looking for the right number of stripes, the right colors for a design, because I really like that color blips. But if you don't want it, what you have to do is just knit, basically. And so this is why the pattern tells you not to do color changes where there will be purls. So basically it's the first row of ribbing and some of the purl rows of garter stitch. Because when you do garter stitch in the round, you knit one row and purl one row. So yeah, this just means that there are so many color possibilities for this. And like I said, really easy, really simple to make, accessible to beginners. All of my sock patterns, I don't specify a needle use. So it's maybe not as step by step as the super beginner friendly pattern, in that I don't tell you you're doing magic loop, DPNs or mini circulars. I just give general instructions, and you kind of need to adapt this to the way that you're knitting. And it's maybe not as intuitive. So if it's your very first sock, you might need to look into video tutorials on constructions, etc. But I have done so many sock designs now, and there's always been testers that are beginners, and they've done just well. So it is totally accessible to sock beginners as well. So, got a little interruption. I don't remember what I was saying, but yes, the Eris socks, which are now available, and there is a little discount on Ravelry to celebrate the release, which is called Eris, which will give you 15% off. And yes, I really hope you enjoy them. So we're gonna have a lot of socks in this episode and lots of color management talk. So I'm just gonna go ahead to my work in progress, which is what would be the third pattern in this little sock collection. We're skipping the one from April because I've knitted it so fast. But this is the one that will be released in May, and I am using the teal color again and this blush pink. There's the mustard color, which you haven't seen, which makes the whole pack of colors that I've been using for this collection. Why is it so overexposed now? Well, I'm gonna have to deal with that. So I've been wanting to make a sock with 1 row stripes. So I've wanted to have a lacy cuff design, and I've struggled a bit to find the right one because all of my sock patterns, I prefer to have a variety of sizes, even if the difference between one size to the next might be very small. But I found that people have such precise preferences for sock in terms of their tension, their needle size, the stitch count, etc. Sock fit and comfort is very individual, so I prefer to have a good range of sizes, even if it means that they're quite close to one another. But this means that when I do need a stitch or something, it needs to be easy to grade this way. And so I ended up with this one, which, as you can see, is in the middle of the twisted ribbing, is making little diamond shaped with smoked stitches in the center, which I really like. So there will be a video tutorial in the pattern on how I do smoked stitches. There's 2 ways, basically. It's very simple. You're basically creating a cluster of stitches by wrapping the yarn around a few stitches. So you either put them on a cable needle and literally wrap the yarn around, or if, like me, you're very lazy and you do not want to use a separate needle, you can just slip the stitches back and forth. And it's totally ridiculous because it takes a lot longer. But, you know, what you like to do when you're knitting, it doesn't have to make sense. It's absolutely absurd that I would prefer to do something that takes longer, but it's just, yeah, I really don't like using cable needles, so that's how I do it. But yeah, so that's the little lace, and then I started my 1 row stripes using the 2 colors. So talking about yarn jog, when you are making stripes at the beginning of the row, so you can see it on those because I chose not to fix it in the sample. There's a color jog because when you're knitting in the round, you're knitting in a spiral. So the end of your round is higher than the beginning of your round. And this is visible when you change colors or when you're making a garter stitch. You have a line, basically. Here you can see, if it can focus eventually. It does not want to, but eventually it might at some point. There you go. You can see here there's a visible blip. The pattern contains instructions on how to fix it if you want to. I'm just lazy. The way that you can fix this is there are several methods. You can slip a stitch. The one that I prefer is that on the second round of your new color, you take one leg of the stitch below and you lift it up and you knit it together with the first stitch. And this fixes that. But it only works if you're making stripes of at least 2 rounds. one round stripes, this doesn't work. There is an interesting work around this, but it's quite fiddly, I found. And since we're doing socks and it's a tight gauge, having to do something that's a bit too long every beginning of the round all along the socks, I don't like this. So the way that you avoid the color jog, because as you can see I don't have any, there's my beginning here, but then there is no visible start and end of the stripes after that initial one. I'm just doing helix knitting, and there are lots of tutorials online on how to do this, but essentially what you're doing is that you're shifting where you change colors every round. So you're stopping your round a few stitches, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches before the end. You're slipping the other stitches and you're carrying on with the other color. So for example, here you see I've finished my pink stripe here, and I've finished it and I've stopped 3 rows before the end of my round. My blue color is here, so I'm going to slip those 3 stitches. I have slipped those 3 stitches, take my blue color from here and do my round with the blue, and I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go up until the last pink stitch. I'm going to stop 3 stitches before, slip those 3 stitches, take my pink yarn, which is here, and do it again. And essentially every round you're going back little by little, and this avoids the color jog. The problem with that is that since I'm making socks, at some point I need to put a heel and a toe. So you could put an afterthought heel, etc. But I wanted to keep my preferred heel instructions. So it means that at some point I need to be back at the beginning of my round. And this is kind of restrictive. And so I'm going to leave it up to the knitter to fiddle with it, because this is an option. Basically, you can make this with bigger stripes, you can make this in just one color, or just a contrast cuff and then one color, whatever. And I want to keep it versatile. I really do not like to stuck the knitter when I do instructions, especially for socks. I don't like to impose a certain length or something while it's actually quite easy to customize, and it should be customizable in my opinion. So you're gonna have to figure out kind of yourself when you stop your leg. For example, see here, I am back at the beginning of my round, but I want my leg to be a little bit longer, so I'm gonna have to go again and keep shifting my colors until I am again at that point. And this is going to add a few centimeters, right? And you can slip more or less stitches to sort of fudge it, but there might be a point where, especially for the foot, you have the right foot length, you can't add more, but you're not at the beginning of the round with your stripes. And your stripes are like in the middle here, but you can't really put your heel or your toe in the middle of the sock. So if that happens, you can just cut your yarns and rejoin them. You just have to weave more ends in. Rejoin them where you need to start again a proper round. So I hope that I have tried to write instructions so that it's clear enough. I hope that with my testers we'll be able to get something that is clear, so that you understand how this works. And if you want to do this, which you don't have to, you can have the color jog. It's not that big of a deal, right? Or you can be making different stripes. I want the patterns to have the tools that you need to figure it out, but I much prefer having people understand how it works so that they can customize the socks how they like it. Because if I decide in your stead what foot length you need, in my experience, this just doesn't work. It's exactly like if I decide that because your bust is 100 centimeter, then the body length that you need is 35. No, maybe you're shorter, maybe you want it cropped, maybe whatever. I can't decide in your stead. And it's the same for socks. I say it's even worse for socks because people are so peculiar. We are all so peculiar about how our sock fits, right? So hopefully I managed to write instructions so that it's clear enough. The technique is easy. It's just that, to keep it customizable, I need to make sure you understand the concept. But it is really fun and easy to knit. I've actually casted this on because I needed something that I could knit without looking at it. We were watching The Last of Us with my partner. Talk about trauma every week. I have been working on something, which I will show you next, that I need to look at to keep track of. So I needed to cast on something easier. And so I've just done the cuff, and then this was the mindless bit that I needed. I really like the cuff lace. I think it's a bit too involved to be made into a garment or something, even though I really like it. It's really pretty, but unless I make it at a really, can you focus, please? No, it doesn't want to. Why do you focus on my ugly nails? It's a bit too involved, unless I make it at a looser gauge, but it's like, I like it in a sock because it's nice and quick, and it's only about like a bit less than 20 rows here for the design. But yeah, I think it's a really pretty edging. And to the sides, you have a bit of knit through the back loop and purls. Here there's a double purge on pearl ridge on the side so that it's symmetrical. When now you focus, now you do, okay. Fighting with the equipment today. This is what I've been working on, and it's lovely. And yeah, so these are the May socks. I think, yes, May socks. What I've been working on, personally, some new works in progress that I cannot, that I need to stare at to get right. It's a crochet garment, and it's my first crochet garment. So I've been talking about wanting to properly learn crochet. So my crochet experience, or rather lack thereof, is so I've done some amigurumi toys, right? But I've done them following photo tutorials, step-by-step pictures, etc. So not really understanding what I was doing. And since it's a toy, I sort of fudged things here and there when I was not doing them right. I've done a hat, a crochet hat, and I've attempted a granny stripe blanket, the free pattern by Attic 24, to use leftovers yarns. Like, that was obviously very easy, but I got bored of it. I figured that I like mindless crafting when it's quick enough, like if it's a sweater or a shawl, it has a place for me. But if it's a big project like a blanket, it's too much. And if it's not engaging, if a blanket is not engaging, it's too big for me to use it as mindless crafting. It just doesn't work. So I've scrapped that scrappy blanket. So yeah, that's what I've done, crocheting. And I've been wanting to actually learn how to crochet properly to be able to make garments, etc. Because there are so many gorgeous patterns out there, so many talented makers. Crochet has that bad rep of being cringy, granny square, patchy stuff, and I think that's wrong. The thing is, if that cliche is wrong of knitting, as we know, it's also wrong of crochet, because sure, there are some fun granny square, crazy textured, colorful things in crochet, like there are in knitting, but there are also more texture focused, interesting, modern for lack of a better descriptive looking stuff, and I like both. But yeah, just I don't like how people still think that crochet is just like neon granny squares and patchy stuff, which is also kind of cool in my opinion. But if you don't like it, I get it. But there are patterns that are not this, quite a lot of them, and I want to make all of them. So I've been wanting to properly learn how to crochet. I love learning new skills. It's very stimulating, and yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I have chosen to knit the Beatrice V-neck cardigan from Holly Woodward Design, which I really like. I really like her work. She does both. Like, she has some really fun, colorful patchwork-like garments, and she also have very elegant texture-focused crochets. That's gonna be I'm gonna keep saying knitting instead of crochet, but you know what I mean. Vocabulary is gonna be an issue here until I kind of learn more and more, hopefully thanks to you helping me when I'm lacking the words. But yeah, she has gorgeous patterns. I love a lot of them, and I've chosen the Beatrice V-neck cardigan because it's a cardigan. It's going to be lovely for spring, and it's knitted flat in pieces, and then the sleeves are knitted in the round. And from my minimal previous crochet experience, I've noticed that crocheting in the round, did I say knitted in the round? Crocheting in the round is a problem for me. Because coming from a knitter's perspective, where you can really see where the stitches are because they're on your needle, it's a bit of a bad faith argument here, because sometimes you need to knit in other places than what is on your needles, but okay. Crochet, identifying where to put my crochet hook is a little bit more difficult. So when I was doing, for example, the hat in the round, I noticed that I kept making too many stitches. I wasn't able to properly identify where the beginning of my round was. So I know that seeing the beginning and end of my work is a problem for me. So I thought this cardigan was a great idea because it is knitted first flat, the back piece, which I have here, maybe here. I don't know if it matters which end is at top and which end is at the bottom, but we'll figure it out. And so this is the back, and then I'm gonna make the two fronts, and then I'm gonna make the sleeves in the round. And we're gonna talk about this because I have I have urges to mess up something with the pattern, but this way I have this long piece of flat crochet to sort of understand what I'm doing. And so let me show you my swatch, actually. Well, this is one of my swatches because I've done this about 3 to 4 times, including bigger ones, so that I could really see what my tension was. And so I'm using trebles. Okay, so yeah, the reason I also picked this pattern is because Holly Woodward provides both UK and US terminology. And the next crochet pattern that I want to make, if this goes well, I want to make a camisole pattern from Linda I don't know how to pronounce her last name, I'm sorry. But she's using US terminology. So I thought it would be interesting to start with Holly Woodward so that I can sort of compare the two patterns and see what the differences are between UK and US terminology. If I understand correctly, is that you seem to count up to 3 differently. What is a treble in UK is double crochet in the US. What is double crochet in UK is single crochet in the US. Is that it? Is that the difference? It's just that UK seem to count 1 extra movement in their terms. I don't know. It seems like that's it. The differences that I've seen so far. Maybe there's more. There's probably more. But yeah, so I thought this was great because since she has both patterns, I can sort of compare and wrap my head around the differences. Keep in mind, I'm also trying to learn the French terminology at the same time, which is problematic. But yeah, so these are trebles in UK, double crochet in US, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, it's reversible, I suppose. And yeah, it's fun. I really like it. So the pattern has you do a foundation treble. So basically you're not making a chain, you're actually making your first row of trebles and creating the chain at the border at the same time, which was really fun to knit. The pattern has a link to a video tutorial that explains how to do it. It was really fun I practiced this a lot so I could get the right tension. Obviously my tension is not perfect, but I'm trying. I do have the right tension compared to the pattern, which amazes me. Stitch wise, not row wise, which I suppose is the same problem as knitting, right? But it's okay because I can just add however many rows I need. I am knitting size M, so I think it's the third size. It's a bit bigger than what the pattern recommends in terms of ease, but I figured, so it's gonna be a cardigan, a spring cardigan, and I don't mind it being a bit oversized, very oversized. And I was a bit worried that since I'm beginning, my tension might do weird stuff, and I'd rather have more ease, because if I chose size S, I was like right at the minimum limit of the recommended ease, and I sort of felt more comfortable going up a size for a cardigan. And yes, so things that I have learned. I have learned that I can't not look at what I'm doing. So this is what I was saying, why I casted on the socks, because it's not easy to know where to put my crochet hook. Now I figured it for that stitch, right? So now I know I need to put under the V's here and not like bang on in the middle here like a brute. But I can't do this without looking at what I'm doing. So I can't read. I've tried. I can't even watch something which requires me to watch subtitles. So yeah, I just need to be in my bubble, and it's kind of nice. It's fairly easy now that I've got the hang of it, but I do need to look at it. It goes quite fast though, and so that's nice. That's the back. One thing is, so at the beginning and end of the rows, and I think that's connected to why I'm confused as to how to work in the round as well. So I've been reading the pattern, I've been Googling and watching lots of YouTube tutorials. It's so great to learn crafting now. I wish I had all of this when I started to learn how to knit, because I didn't have access to so many things. When I really learned how to knit, I had limited access to internet for one, but what was there, it was like blogs and articles and not that many stuff and not a lot of visual stuff, and so I kind of fumbled my way into it. Now I can just Google something and I have like 20 billion answers that give me so many insight, and it's lovely for me. I love to learn like this. I love to just dive into something, right into the pit of it, and just keep looking, going from one thing to the next. It's like, you know, you're looking for, as it ever happened to you that you hear a word that you don't know what it means, you're looking to the definition of it, and in the definition there is a word that you don't know what it is, and so you look into that definition, and then it's endless, you know. And it's kind of like this when I'm learning a new craft, is that I'm watching a video that's going to show me something, and then the crafter is going to mention something else, or I'm going to have a recommended connected video, and I'm like, oh, but what is this? What is this? And it's maybe problematic because I might be confusing myself, getting way ahead of what the patterns actually requires me to do, and I might confuse myself learning stuff that have no relation, and to be a bit too much and too confusing. But I love doing it. It's really stimulating and fun. And so in the pattern for the sleeves, it says the sleeves are knitted in the round and need to be turned knitted. Oh God. The sleeves are crocheted in the round and need to be turned at every row. What? What? Pardon? When I read that sentence, I just stared at it for a while. I was like, at the same moment, my partner was passing in front of my door and he saw me, and I must have had a really weird face because he was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, yeah. But like, I copy-pasted that sentence, which to me made no sense. I copy-pasted it in Google and then it made sense. If I understood correctly, apparently, if you join in the round, which is funny because it kind of looks like you're doing a short row thing, but you're turning, so effectively working both right side and wrong side, but joining in the round still, you're making a neater join in the round. If I understand correctly, that's why, I think. But anyway, lots of really interesting things regarding how to end and begin the row. So see, for example, here. So when you turn a row, you're chaining 2, and then you start your trebles, UK, double crochet US. But see, this is the beginning of my row. I need to chain 2, but I can't make my first treble here, even though there's a stitch here, I see it. But this is not where my first treble needs to be. I need to skip this, start here. And then when I'm at the end of the row, obviously I'm missing 1. And the extra one is kind of at the edge here in the previous chain 2, which I skipped at the beginning of the row. So if I understand correctly, this basically, that is so fascinating to me, and maybe not the thing I'm the best at. I figured that crochet might be a little bit more 3D geometric in the way it functions, and it's something that I'm not necessarily great at. If I understand correctly, basically I'm doing this, then this, then this, so that it actually stays even, and I don't add stitches, and I have neat straight edges, roughly. What I don't understand though is that in the video that I watched to learn how to do this treble, the crafter says that this is how you do it for trebles, but not for double crochet. And I don't understand why that would be different for a different type of stitch. I don't understand yet. Maybe I just need to do the other type of stitch to figure out why. But yeah, that's interesting. So I'm really eager to do the fronts to learn how to do increases, and then do the sleeves in the round to understand another way of starting a round. Yeah, that's kind of my main learning point here. Also, I don't know how to join a new yarn. I just hooked a new one. I'm not sure how to weave this in neatly. For the record matter, I don't know how to seam neatly because the edge, it's probably not perfect because I might not be doing things exactly right when I'm making that last treble in the chain of the previous row. But this doesn't seem like a very neat edge to seam for me. And I'm wondering, for the sleeves, so you knit the sleeves in the round separately and then you seam them to the body. I wonder why I wouldn't be able to pick up stitches from here, because I have to do this for the neckband. I have to pick up, so it is possible to pick up stitches in crochet. Why wouldn't I be able to do it for the sleeves? You might be laughing if you've seen some of my previous podcasts. I hate seaming in the round. I'm really bad at it. And I thought maybe it would be neater with crochet, but when I look at this, if I'm supposed to seam something on that edge, I think it's gonna look really bad. So maybe there's a very obvious reason why I can't pick up stitches for the sleeves. First of all, I have no idea what the stitch to row ratio is. and another interruption making me lose track. What was I saying? Yes, I'm not sure. I know how many stitches I need for the sleeves, but I'm not sure if I'm trying to pick up, like, where do I pick up exactly so that it sort of is smooth width-wise. I don't know. But yeah, there might be a very obvious reason why that's a bad idea, other than the fact that people usually prefer to seam for more stability. Yep. But yeah, I kind of feel like I want to try and do this. So I would like seam the shoulder and then try and pick up the number of stitches required for the sleeves, joining the round, and work the sleeves in the round this way, so that I only have to seam here at the end. But yeah, it's kind of like, who do I think I am trying to make a modification already? It's just that I don't see how seaming is going to be very neat, and I need to try the band thing as well. So it's kind of like, even if I know how something is supposed to be done, I find that I learned so much better by, okay, I know this is the right way, but if I'm thinking that there might be another way, I want to try it so that I can understand better why the other way is the right way. I don't know if I'm very clear. Sometimes making the mistake helps you understand why it is a mistake. And I find that I work a lot like this. That's how I learn things. I will experiment a lot. And yes, I kind of want to try and see how it looks if I try to pick up from this edge compared to seaming it. And I might try to seam at a later stage. Or if my picking up doesn't work, I will have to try to figure out how to seam this and keep it pretty neat, because I will have to do it for the sides either way, because the shoulder is not going to be a problem because the top is so neat, like it's such neat slipped like stitches. It's more the edge that, like, I can see the chains as well, but they're a bit twisted, and maybe I should figure out why they're twisted, and if I can still identify them properly. Because in some places I can clearly see the V, and in others I cannot. So yeah, I will see what I do with this. But I'm having so much fun learning this. Learning a lot of things, and I think it's a great pattern to do this because it's very clear, it's fairly simple, but it has lots of interesting things that are conceptually new to me, so it drives me to learn other things and experiment. If this is a success, I have, like I said, this camisole pattern that I want to knit as well this summer. Oh my god, if I want to crochet as well this summer, and it's a really beautiful fan stitch, which might be a little bit more complicated, but I just need to learn how to do it. I am using Katia Concept Cotton in Love, which is a blend of 50% cotton, 50% merino, and it's lovely. I really like it. It's very soft and squishy. Like most cotton blends, it does have a lot of plies, but it is fairly round. And so when I was first learning and making my swatches, I was splitting it quite a bit because I was doing nonsense with my crochet hook. But now I'm not splitting it at all, basically. And it makes me realize that this would be a lovely yarn to knit with as well, even maybe cables and stuff that would be lovely in this round. It's a DK weight. I find that it's more airy than what the designer's samples seem to look like. Maybe my cotton is a bit finer. I wonder if, due to the nature of crochet, it's naturally not as dense, and if I should always aim to get a thicker yarn or a more plump and puffy one so that it fills up the hole. Like, this doesn't bother me for a cardigan, right? It doesn't matter. But I'm thinking that if this was like a top or something and I wouldn't want to wear something under it, maybe that would be a problem. I'm thinking about this because the camisole that I would like to make next is in fingering weight, in rather fine fingering weight. And I've seen a project done in a yarn that I would like to use for it. But it's, yeah, so I'm wondering, am I going to get something very loose as well that I can't wear on its own? I don't know. Maybe it sort of depends on your tension, on the yarn that you use. Maybe this is a bit too smooth because of the cotton, but it's lovely. It's not too heavy. It's nice. So crochet uses a lot more yarn. Not that much more, but still. And so this requires buttons, and I have those beautiful buttons that I can't seem to find a use for because they're metal button and they're a bit heavier. If I can stop agitating my hook, I can maybe show you. They're so beautiful. I really like them, but they're a bit on the heavier side. Not too heavy though, but since I tend to knit things that are not super dense and not in really thick yarns, these have been too heavy for the projects that I've been knitting. And so I'm wondering if maybe this is a good match, because crochet is a little bit more firm and heavier. Maybe it will stand those buttons a little bit more. They're not ridiculously heavy either, like, I don't know. But yeah, or maybe it's the opposite, and putting something heavier onto a heavier fabric will double the heaviness. I don't know. But I just think that they look really good together. And I think I will try, because I only need like 4 buttons, so it's not like there's going to be a lot of them. I think I will try and see if it drags down, then I will change the buttons, but I really like those ones. Buttons are difficult for me. I don't like, how is it called in English? The thing that is in oysters. I don't mean to say that buttons are made out of oyster shells, but like is it shell that you say? We say nacre in French. Maybe, I forgot the English word. But you know, it's kind of like a shiny, fine material. And I don't like this. And a lot of buttons are made like this. I much prefer buttons that are made out of wood or metal. But it's a bit difficult to find some that are not so out there that they're overpowering the project. I have some beautiful, beautiful porcelain buttons, handmade ones, that are gorgeous. But the thing is, they're so beautiful that like the interest of the design of the project will be the buttons. And so I don't know, I need to make very simple knits perhaps to use those buttons. But yeah, I don't tend to make really simple cardigans. But these seems like a great match, at least visually. I don't know, it doesn't... I think it will be okay. I will have to try. Anyway, so yeah, this is what I've been crocheting at the moment. But like I said, I need to look at it. I can't not watch it. I've been using up this hook, which is from Prime, this brand here, which I think is a bit underrated. It's like this basic cheap crafting brand, but I have tools like tapestry needles and things from them for like 15 years, literally 15 years, and they're still great. They're affordable. I got a bunch of different sizes. This is 4mm, which is what the designer also recommended, and I got the right tension with that, so that's great. But I got a bunch of sizes between 2.75 and 4.5. And yeah, I also got some clover ones, and those have a flat piece. I like those. I have used this one in the past, so I knew I was comfortable with this. I've knit this back piece quite intensely, several hours with little breaks, and it doesn't hurt me yet. Even though I'm probably doing a lot of unnecessary movements because I'm learning. But I quite like how they feel. I know the clover ones are really well known, and they've been recommended to me. So I've gotten a couple of those, but like I'm not gonna specifically buy several crochets in the same size just to try the crochet hook. I'm not that far into crochet yet that I can invest into a lot of crochet hooks just to see what works best. They're kind of expensive tools, but these are fine for me right now. They're round and black. I have no idea what their name is, but they're black basically. And yeah, so this is my personal work in progress at the moment, and I also wanted to give you a little update on the shawl design that I have been working on, and I've showed you in the last episode. So this is a modular shawl which will have different textures and not lace. I'm saying this because apparently people assume that when I'm designing something I'm gonna put lace on it, and I really don't know what makes you think that. No, I've posted a picture of it on Instagram talking about how I find modular shawls really fun, but I understand that they can be a bit hard to wear because they can look very patchy and weird. And a friend of mine answered in the comments, well, lace can also be hard to wear for some people, you know? And I'm like, there's no lace in this design. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see the point of that comment. Why attacking me like this? Yeah, apparently people assume I'm just putting lace everywhere, which I really can't see why. I don't understand why you would assume that. But yeah, I try to vary when I set up my design schedule, right? I try not to, I've realized that at some point in a few months I'm gonna have only cardigans and sometimes I notice that I do a lot of the same thing at once at the same time. I kind of work like this. So yeah, I do love lace, and when you love something, it's kind of hard to notice that you're kind of in the bubble and not making a bunch of different stuff. But I like also not lace sometimes, and this will be a design with no lace. So I believe I had shown you this first section, which you start with a point and then you increase on either side, making stripes. And then the second section is half brioche, and basically I decreased on one edge here. And now I'm on my third section, which I've picked up stitches along the decreasing edge of the, come back, the yarn has run away. I've picked up stitches along the decreasing edge of the half brioche, and I'm making seed stitch, which I love the crispness, the crisp aspect of it. I've actually knitted quite a lot more of this and had to rip back completely because I needed to make a different shape, a different decrease rate. As you can see, I'm decreasing here rather rapidly because I'm gonna go all the way back to a point, and then in this part here it will be a bit wider. I will pick up stitches again and then go this way, decreasing back to a point. And I've actually noticed something funny is that I've decided to keep the edges at each section. So you can see here there's the garter finishing here, because this way you can stop the shawl at various points throughout the knitting, right? You can just stop after the second section, and you have, if I kind of cut it off the frame here, you'll have a sort of this triangle, right? Or you could also stop after the third section, and then you will have a stole that starts with the point and then starts with a more of a flat edge. Or you can do all 4 sections like I will have in my sample and have a bigger shawl. But yeah, I thought that was fun because basically after every section the shawl is finished with complete edgings, slipped stitches to the side, etc. Sorry for the needles clanking. And yeah, I am using yarns from Célène, which is a French dyer, in her basic superwash merino fingering weight yarn. Nothing special about this yarn. It's just, yeah, superwash merino tends to get color very nicely. This one in particular, I absolutely love the depth of this and the nuances in it. Yeah, I really like the definition it's having. This is the colorway. The main one here is Cendre de Rose. This is Bois de Rose. It's the same color as the stripes. And this is Vitelotte, which I really, really love. And the last section will be made with this Noisette colorway, hazelnut, in a slipped stitch motif. No lace. Yeah, that's how this is. It's a really nice meditative thing because it's so simple, right? Like, I mean, it's garter, seed stitch, etc. It's quite of a big project that is simple, so when you need a lot of relaxing knitting, that's gonna be fun, I think. So yeah, I need to reuse the yarn that I frogged, and that's where I am with that. We'll probably go on a bit of a break while I do some other knits for the summer. But yeah, so that's all that I wanted to share with you for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you again at the beginning of April, starting the really springy, summery designs that I have to show you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I wish you a very happy end of the afternoon, day, evening, whenever you're watching this, and I will see you next time. Bye!